had been dwelling. So Abraham, who had a very, very close relationship with Yahweh, and Lot was his cousin. So on behalf of the relationship that he had with Abraham, he spared Lot. See, some of us have been spared because of the relationship that our loved ones or people we have in our life and their relationship with God. How back in the old school days when we said that, our grandmas have prayed us through. Somebody in your life is praying for you. And because they're praying for you and the relationship that they have with God, that is why God chooses to work in your life. But sometimes we are so prideful that we refuse to leave because sometimes we're comfortable in our mess. And there are things in our life that can keep us from moving forward. Lot's wife loved her life and everything in it. She had status. Their family, was considered, wealthy. They had a lot of cattle and a lot of things. And so for her to abandon all of the worldly things that she possessed, that was hard for her. Hence, she looked back. Sometimes not knowing what the future has can have us stuck in our past. And sometimes we stay stuck in the past because it's familiar. It's not healthy. We're doing unhealthy things. It's getting us caught up. But because it's familiar and we know what to expect. For instance, let's use relationships. There are some times in our life that we are in relationships and that we have been conditioned to the unhealthiness of that relationship. For instance, abusive relationships. Some women find it hard to leave because, they have been beaten down so bad that they feel that that's what they deserve. Some women have been told over and over again that they're worthless, they're nothing. Men too. It can happen to men as well. And so they have been conditioned, groomed to believe those things. And they stay in a relationship that ultimately can cost them their lives instead of moving forward because they know what to expect. And when you move forward, you don't know what to expect. We are told as believers to walk by faith and not by sight. But for Lot's wife, her possessions, her home, her popularity, her wealth was growing smaller as she walked away. And in her mind, she decided, and I say decided, one look won't hurt. Let me just look one more time. Let me just say goodbye. To all that I've had. And she looked back. And that was the end of it. She was stuck as a pillar of salt. So the question, that I post for you today? What is keeping you? What are you looking back at? We are told to live life abundantly in John 10. That Jesus died so we could live abundantly. But some of us are looking back. Some of us are having a hard time leaving the past. Or some people are trying to bring the past with them into their future, not understanding that your past can ruin the relationship in your future. That your past can ruin everything that you're trying to do. So the question today, why are you stuck? Because what people fail to understand, Jeremiah talks about that the heart is a deceitful member. You can't trust your heart sometimes because our heart can get us in places where we have to then fight to get out. And I realized that in times of I've been raped, I've been in abusive relationships, and it took me a long time to heal. And how do you know that you're not healed from a situation? Is that you constantly got to talk about it. You constantly have to try to reason with why you're the way that you are. But then I realized as I was going through therapy, the more that I talked about it and why it was still sitting in my chest, God began to heal me. And then my prayers changed. God, heal me from this. And every day I grew a little bit. And I grew another little bit. And I grew again. So that the environment and the pot that my roots were in, I had outgrown that. And I had to leave certain people, certain things behind, because they were bringing up who I used to be. When I'm trying to walk forward in who God has me to be. Because the Bible says in 1 Corinthians 13 that love is patient, love is kind, love is long-suffering. But the Bible also said to be wise. One bad apple destroys a bunch. So by looking back and staying in our past, we're allowing certain situations and certain people to ruin what God is trying to do in us. What's holding you back? A love? A death? Money? Trying to recapture your youth? For a long time, after my daughter died, I was stuck. There were times and days I didn't want to live. There were times and days I was angry at God because I didn't understand why you got me here. Why am I here? I'm trying my best to walk forward. But the pain kept gripping me. Some days it was so painful and unimaginable that I didn't think I could do it. I couldn't make it. but God. God had me. And he told me to walk by faith and not by sight. And that he had healed me. He healed her. And I had to let go and walk forward, because I now see, after walking forward, that there are other parents who've lost their child, and they need encouragement. They need understanding, because sometimes in life, the main people that we hang around are the main people who get us stuck. The main people that we think is our friends and even family. I had to leave family, because these friends and these family members had me stuck. I couldn't walk in God's forgiveness. I couldn't walk in that hurt and that pain. And I'm not going to say that people purposely get us stuck. But when we say to somebody, hey, I'm going to stop eating meat, then we get a, girl, I can't leave them pork chops alone, honey, because you know I can't do it. You better than me. And then we start to doubt. We start to think, well, maybe God didn't say that. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm the only one that don't want to eat meat. I'm the only one that's stuck. But the problem is just because they don't want to eat the meat, they want to eat the meat, excuse me, and you don't, what they choose to do and what you choose to do, or God is telling you to do, is two totally different things. And sometimes in life, we have to embrace that where God is taking us, because we surrendered, everybody ain't surrendered to God. Everyone hasn't surrendered to God. So of course they stuck, because they haven't surrendered. Surrendering is hard. Surrendering is going to take everything out of you. Surrendering is a lonely, painful walk. And that is why the scriptures tell us that Jesus says in the New Testament, I came to turn mother against daughter, father against son. Because see, there's not supposed to be nobody or nothing that becomes more important than God. And when you say that you have surrendered your life, that it's all about God, God's going to hold you to that. Or he's going to keep allowing you to get in situations where you're consistently, constantly stuck. Every time you look back, you stuck. Every time. So you have to ask yourself, how do I move forward? Because sometimes we have to answer that. We have to ask God that. God, I'm having a hard time moving forward. What do I need to do, God, to move forward? What do I need to do, God, to not be stuck? And most of the time, just like Lot's wife, we get